From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Thursday, April the 4th, 2019. IDF Sergeant Zachary Baumel was laid to rest in Israel this evening, 37 years after he went missing in action during the First Lebanon War. Baumel's tank was captured by the Syrian army during the Battle of Sultan Yaqub in June of 1982. His remains were recovered in what is believed to have been Islamic State-held territory in Syria, found with the help of Russia. As we reported to you, Israel said yesterday that Baumel's body was found and repatriated with the help of a third country. And Israeli media said Russia was the likely party. Well, today, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu confirmed that, personally thanking Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow today. Putin said Russian soldiers were aided in the search by what he referred to as Syrian partners. Netanyahu attended an official Russian Defense Ministry ceremony at which he received several of Baumel's personal effects in a casket draped with an Israeli flag. He told Putin it warms the heart to see the partnership of values, of honoring soldiers, of the fellowship of soldiers, of comrades in arms, and the important principle of never leaving anyone behind. There are reports that Russia is continuing its efforts in helping to recover the remains of Baumel's two fellow tank unit soldiers, Zvi Feldman and Yehuda Katz. Zachary Baumel's funeral took place at Jerusalem's Mount Herzl Military Cemetery this evening, attended by Prime Minister Netanyahu, who went straight to the cemetery after landing back in Israel from his Russia trip. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin was also in attendance, as well as the Russian ambassador to Israel and the family of Baumel, as well as the families of Feldman and Katz. 3 Palestinians breached the Gaza security fence last night armed with knives. The IDF said Israeli troops spotted 3 suspects crossing the security fence and infiltrating into Israel from the southern Gaza Strip. In response, they said the troops fired at the suspects, injuring them. The 3 were taken to an Israeli hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, Egypt, the United Nations, and Qatar are said to be closer to reaching a ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, which would reportedly include an end to violence coming from Gaza in exchange for Israel's easing of some of its restrictions on Gazans coming in and out of Israel, as well as on goods allowed into Gaza. And an official from the so-called March of Return protests, the usually violent riots at the Gaza fence every Friday, was cited as telling Israel public broadcaster Khan that Gaza factions are committed to a non-violent protest tomorrow, with Israel agreeing not to use live fire. The Museum of Jewish Heritage in New York City is preparing to open a very special exhibit. Auschwitz, Not Long Ago, Not Far Away, will share 700 artifacts from the Holocaust with the public, including a vintage German train car, like the ones used to deport Jews to the death camp. A crane lowered a windowless boxcar onto tracks outside the museum on Sunday. Most of the artifacts are on loan from about 20 institutions around the world. Most of them have never been seen before in the U.S. The exhibit is in conjunction with the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum in Poland and Spanish company Musealia. It opens in New York on May the 8th, the same day in 1945 that Germany surrendered and the camps were liberated. Emory University is looking into the placement of mock eviction notices posted Tuesday morning on the doors of student dorm rooms. The Jewish Journal reports, citing the Atlanta school's Hillel, that the notices were placed in residence halls and off-campus housing by Emory's Students for Justice in Palestine. The flyers claim that Israel routinely gives such notices to Palestinians, accusing Israel of ethnic cleansing. They did not specifically target Jewish students. The school said the group did have permission to post the flyers, but only in approved areas, which they did not comply with, and so the flyers were removed. Vice President for Campus Life Paul Marthers sent an email to students Tuesday night, writing that while we want to create an environment where the free expression of ideas and open, vigorous debate and speech are valued, we must also recognize that the manner in which we communicate can have consequences. Stand With Us's Executive Director of Research and Strategy, Max Samarov, told the Journal that Jewish students were upset. He said SJP is not only spreading misleading and dehumanizing claims about Israelis, they are also violating school policies and creating emotional distress for their peers. Well, Israel's lunar lander successfully completed its most critical maneuver to date today. Space IL and Israel Aerospace Industries engineers conducted the lunar capture aboard Bereshit, which now enables the spacecraft to be captured by the moon's gravity and begin orbiting the moon and getting closer to its surface before landing on April the 11th. Space IL Chairman Maurice Kahn said the lunar capture is an historic event in and of itself, but it also joins Israel in a 7-nation club that has entered the moon's orbit. A week from today, he said, we'll make more history by landing on the moon, joining 3 superpowers who have done so. Today, he said, I am proud to be an Israeli. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Thursday, April the 4th at 7 o'clock, it's Talmud Study. At 8, the finale of the hit Israeli TV drama, A Touch Away. At 9, it's part 2 of L'chaim with Rabbi Joshua Hammerman. At 10, Artistic Director of the Manhattan Theater Club, Lynn Meadow, talks about the challenges and joys of being a woman in theater. And coming up right after this newscast, Mark Golub is joined by Israeli commentator and former Knesset member Dov Lipman, who explains why he says the Israeli electorate still wants Benjamin Netanyahu to head the government and what that will mean for American-Jewish relations with Israel. And by the way, mark your calendars for Election Day in Israel, Tuesday, April the 9th, as we will have full coverage for you here on JBS. And that's the JBS News Update for Thursday, April the 4th, 2019. I'm Teisha Bader.